Hi, my name is James Chan in Philadelphia. My company is Asia Marketing and Management. And today I'm your host, and I'm very happy to introduce as a co-host of this episode my dear friend John Mason. Oh, I should say Dr. John Mason, even though he's trying to hide his PhD degree. But John, it's very nice working with you again, John.
Likewise, James. I'm so glad to see you.
Yeah, I know that today is a special day about the lifting of all the restrictions, or just about all restrictions in Philadelphia, about the COVID-19. But that's not really as important as we should talk about things you are so knowledgeable about, and also you have some insights with regard to the stock market, the Fed, and inflation. These are things that are very important to our viewers and to all of us. And I know, let me get the cat out of the bag, that the Financial Times has asked you to write a piece. So I think that this is a very precious moment for you to share with the viewers your insights about the stock market, the Federal Reserve and its policy, and inflation. You have about 8 minutes to do it, John.
Thanks, James. Thank you very much. Well, the place I'm going to start off with is with the stock market. I mean, up until 3 weeks ago, the stock market this year had just been going, really reaching new highs almost every other day, if not sooner. You look at the S&P 500 index, and through May 7th, 26 new historical highs this year. The Dow Jones Industrial Average, 24 new historic highs this year. And since May 7th, however, something stopped. And it all seems to be connected with inflation. Mm-hmm. And let me just say here that the Federal Reserve gets into this because the Federal Reserve has been very, very lenient and very focused on the stock market in terms of putting lots and lots of funds into the economic system. And this largesse of the Federal Reserve has really contributed to the rising stock market and to the attainment of all these historic highs. Well, okay, all of a sudden, inflation started getting back into the picture. We've gone 10 years or so where inflation in the United States has basically been below 2%, and the operating goal for the Federal Reserve has been 2% or less. So in terms of achievement their goal, that they have done very, very well in terms of that particular measure. Well, things have started to pick up. That with all the largesse of the Federal Reserve, that people have gotten a little bit more concerned that inflation could arise once again. And starting in March and then again in April, that we saw that the inflation figures started to bump up a little bit.
You're talking about, John, you're talking about 4.2%. This is the figure I read from the Wharton School, where you taught before.
May, the year-over-year the year-over-year rate of growth of prices was 4.2%. Spot on, James.
Yeah.
And this is much, much higher than it's really been over the last 10 years. And so, and you've got commodity prices that have been up substantially year over year. And you look at things like lumber, and you look at things like cotton and some other things like that. And so prices are going up all over the place. You start talking about supply chain problems, and you're not going to get your supplies as much as you have in the past. And so here's another place where inflation could start picking up. So, whoa, inflation looks like it's starting to pick up. And this immediately then throws the Federal Reserve right in the middle of things because that is one of their primary objectives. Now they've said in the last year or so that 2% is not the ceiling in terms of what they're hoping to achieve in terms of price inflation. That they will accept numbers in excess of 2% for an extended period of time in order to help get the economy going again. So, anyhow, the fact is, it looks like inflation is picking up.
Mhm.
The fear is if inflation starts picking up, the Federal Reserve's going to withdraw its operating procedure that it's been working on, and the operating procedure that has allowed the stock market to hit new historical highs on a regular basis. What is one of the parts of the policy here? The Fed is buying $120 billion in U.S. Treasury securities and mortgage-backed securities monthly. $120 billion. Think about that. That is a huge number. And so this is kind of the basis of their policy. And the feeling is that, whoa, if inflation is starting to pick up, then whoops, the Fed's going to draw back.
Yeah.
Well, so that started to create the fear in the stock market, and that's why it started to top out. Now, what we found out since, and just let me finish this little bit again.
Because you're running out of your time.
I know. This is such a subject.
I can't give you 8 days. I can't.
Let me give you one more point on this and the like. The Federal Reserve does not want short-term interest rates to go negative.
Okay.
The federal funds rate is around 7 basis points right now, 6 basis points. That's 6% of 0.06%, 0.07%. So the interest rate is very, very low. With the Fed throwing all this money into the economy, there is a fear in that the interest rates were going to go low and go negative. What the Fed has done over the last month or two is that they've engaged in repurchase agreements where they've withdrawn hundreds of billions of dollars from the financial market so that the interest rate won't go down. So you've got this conflict now within the Federal Reserve that they want to keep up the accommodation, but if they keep up the accommodation, there's the fear that it's going to drive the short-term interest rates below zero. They don't want that. So the Fed is in a dilemma right now in terms of what it needs to do.
Okay, John, why don't you answer the question from a reader in Philadelphia, Mr. Robert Edwards? Is online bill paying safe?
Yes.
That's good. That's good and sweet and curt and terse and concise. I happen to agree with you.
I mean, I think, there are fears that are going around now in terms of, we saw it in terms of the meat packing just 2 days ago is, that people are hacking in. My feeling, online bill paying is safe and that it can be done without really having any worries about doing it. And I just don't. That's not an area where they're going to hit.
Yes, is the answer. Very good. Let's have an intermission because I want readers to know that this is how you send in your questions to Money Matters TV. We want to hear from you.
You can have your questions answered on Money Matters. Please go to our website, money-matterstv.com. On our homepage, click on the banner on the right that says, Send us your questions. While you're on our website, you can find information about our hosts and guests, as well as show notes and links about this show and past shows. Money Matters is also available as a podcast on iTunes and Stitcher, so you can listen to Money Matters while you're on the go. That website address, again, is money, MONEY, -matters, MATTERS, TV.com.
Welcome back to Money Matters TV. I'm your host for this episode of Money Matters, and my co-host is John Mason. We have a guest. His face is familiar to me. His name is Michael Gidlewski. Michael is the CEO. I think he's also the founder of his company, Achievement Unlimited. Hi, Michael.
Hey, hello, James. Great to be with you today.
Yes, very, very good to see your face again, because I've seen you, I believe, over the years, most likely at GPSEC and now called Beacon. I think that we were both members. But in any case, it's good to have you here talking about CEOs and management and leadership. And why don't I just ask you a very important question, which is you're very knowledgeable about running a company, particularly for CEOs, which is, do CEOs run companies, or do they lead companies? And please, what's the difference between running companies and leading companies?
That's a great question, because far too many CEOs are running a company and instead of leading it, and they have a difficulty making the transition because they start the company typically, right? It's their idea, they start it, and they're the business development, sales, they're everything, right? And they've got this idea, and then boom, they run. So they're in the company running everything, and then they get their right hand person to run stuff and all. But they have, at some point, they have to make the transition from running that company to building a leadership team, to creating a leadership team, to creating the BHAG, the vision, the purpose, all the core values. All that stuff has to come into play, and that'll only come into play when the business owner, when the CEO can remove himself from the daily operations, stuck in that operational inertia, if you will. They keep getting sucked into the operational inertia, putting out fires instead of building long-term vision, building a team and a bench, a leadership bench and management bench to achieve that long-term vision.
Very good. I agree with you. Oh, by the way, my co-host, John, if you have any question for Michael, please come on, go right in. I don't want to stop you from asking questions. I don't want to bogart the whole show. Really don't.
Thank you, James.
You have any question for Michael?
Well, Michael, I think that one of the things that you just talked about is so crucial in terms of what you're trying to do, and that is between running the company and the leadership, and having the right people in there. I've seen an awful lot of companies that it seems like the CEO has to make all the decisions. Everything has to come to him. Everything must pass his blessing and so forth. Right. And yet the companies, to me, that really seem to work are CEOs that build a good staff around them, give them responsibilities and things like that, and make inclusive management and decisions. What do you think about
the CEOs really struggle with building that vision and building the leadership team, right? Because typically they've created this product, this idea, this service, whatever it is. And now you want to build a leadership team to help them achieve that. And I keep having, working with them to focus on their highest payoff activity. What is their greatest contribution to this business, right? And it's building the leadership team. It's communicating the vision. It's communicating the core values over and over and over again. You cannot over communicate that stuff. And then all this, the operational stuff that gets in the way of those high payoff activities, they need to simplify, eliminate, delegate, and outsource. And of all of those four areas, simplify, eliminate, delegate, outsource, they really, really struggle with delegation.
Yeah. Well, Michael, I'm sure that you are well aware of the difference between promoting people, promoting executives, managers, and training them. You know, you
Yes.
can
Yeah.
promote somebody, but you really, as a founder or CEO, mostly for founders, owners of
Yes.
companies. I mean,
Yeah.
because you like somebody, you think that somebody has value. That doesn't mean that somebody doesn't have blind spots. So
Right.
how does one know whether your star right hand person doesn't have blind spots? How does
Oh
one
my
know?
My goodness, that I see that all the time because they take that right hand person, they take that doer, and they make him or her the manager. And I call them management MBAs, management by accident. And they don't really put the time, effort, and energy into training them and developing them. Actually, development is the better word, not training. That's where you need to outsource. Bring in someone. There's tons. We live in Philadelphia. There's tons of great consultants and trainers and developers. So you bring in somebody and you develop that person. You use assessments. There's a ton of great assessments to find those blind spots too, because we're all Superman and Superwoman, right? We have no blind spots. What are you talking
control
about?
freaks. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
John, come on, John.
What size firms do you work with, Michael?
I stay in that small to mid-sized market, 10 million to 500 million, 25 to 500 employees, privately held, profitable, and they want to grow. And obviously, the CEO must believe that every penny of investment in his people will return. He'll get a good return for that. You know, people will spend $500,000, $1 million on machinery, on computers, on whatever in a New York second, but a few $1,000s to develop their people, and they're like, whoa, let's send them to the $49 workshop.
Well,
Because
now
they
are the
can't.
leaders that you work with, are they, how would you, percentage-wise, would you classify, let's say, relatively new innovators that have built their own company up and have not had really big company experience, and those companies that where the leaders are not have not built the company but have joined it at a later date? How would you split your clientele?
I would say that it's probably more like 25% in that startup range and 75% in businesses that have been around for 10, 20, 30, 50 years. One company I've been working for years with the second generation. Now the third generation's coming into it. But you know what? If they haven't come from a big company, many times they're way better off, because big company culture, hundreds of $1 billion of your business is way different than 10, 50, $100 million small business.
Yes, Michael, on that point, you know, I've heard people mention this acronym MRI. Like, when have you done an MRI? Now, I know that MRI as an acronym has many definitions. I'm sure that in your business, you don't mean magnetic resonance imaging, the medical equipment that finds out if there is anything wrong in your body. So would you elaborate on what is MRI and why is it so important for a company to have done an MRI once in a while?
Sure. Well, that's the way that hopefully we can drill down a little bit and get feedback from everybody in the organization. Aside from 360s and other assessments, doing a DNI, finding out what's going on in the entire organization. Because so many times the people taking care of the customer on the production line, and they know what's going on much better than the CEO in the office.
Yeah, Michael, define MRI for our viewers, please.
So an MRI would be a questionnaire and that we would do with every person in the company. We would distribute it electronically, and we would get feedback on all the different areas of the company: sales, marketing.
What is the long form? What is the long form of MRI?
I don't understand the question in the long form.
What is long? MRI is an acronym, 3
Yes,
letters.
yes.
So what does it represent? It's not magnetic resonance imaging.
No. It represents what's going on in the company right now at this moment. It's like a still shot. It's like a picture of what's happening in that business right now.
You mean there is no long form for this acronym? No?
No, not that I know of.
CEO means Chief Executive Officer.
Yes,
so
yes.
MRI must mean something.
Yeah.
So CEO as Chief Executive Officer is MRI as what? That's my question. It just irks me a little that there has to be some long form.
Yeah.
Michael.
I've never heard it put that way. I mean, we use assessments all the time, but I've never heard it in that metaphor of an MRI.
Because honestly, I tried to Google it and I got a dozen explanations for MRI, something like Medical Research Institute or something. Yeah. It's all right. Yeah, it's a loser of a question.
Right.
Why don't I ask something that is a winner? Also, I kind of have a feeling that you have a belief that some CEOs or owners run a company to win. They play to win.
Yes.
Whereas some secretly really only play so that they are not losing. Play not to lose. Can you elaborate and give us a wisdom on the difference between playing to win versus playing to not lose?
Right. Sure. Playing to win is playing full out. It's and think of it a sports team, right? You're building a bench. You're building that leadership team. Whereas playing not to lose is you're playing it much safer. Much you're going to patch things up. You're not going to take chances. And I don't mean crazy, ridiculous, but you're not going to take chances, big chances. You're not going to invest in your people. It's like kind of status quo is okay if we can. Make a little bit of money each year, maybe grow the business a little bit, that's fine. Instead of looking at what are the real opportunities out there when we do our annual SWOT, right? What are the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats of what are the trends in the marketplace and how can we capitalize them? Looking at our people. I found when we did assessments one time with a small company, about 35 people, in the warehouse, we found a guy and we looked at the assessment. We says, this guy could be a great salesperson. Go out and talk to him. Maybe he wants to get into sales. And he did. And he did very, very well. So, again, that you were talking about the blind spots and stuff. We don't know what we don't know. We can't see what we can't see.
Right.
So playing full out is being open to those possibilities for sure.
Okay.
Given the spectrum of the companies that you work with and so forth, you must be experiencing a lot of differentiation between the older, more mature managers and leaders and the young people coming up. I work with a lot of startups and everything like that, and I'm just knocked over by the energy and what they bring to it. You must have a real picture of what's going on.
It's phenomenal. I think millennials get a bad rap because when I read about them, I read something, and then when I go work with them, I'm like, are you sure you're a millennial? Because you're a producer, you're making things happen. So I think millennials get a bad rap. I see that all the time. The baby boomers, 10,000 a day are retiring. Who's going to replace those managers? It's going to be the millennials. So we better develop them and arm them with the tools and the processes they need to become the best managers they can be. Yeah, it is. It's an absolute blast when you see the mix of different people in the company at different ages, different levels.
Yeah. Well, talking about baby boomers, Michael,
yes.
Do you think that I'm a baby boomer myself. The baby boomer owners of companies and CEOs, do you think that they are keenly aware of making sure that they are cultivating or growing the next crop of successors? Are they still very obsessive? I don't mean it to be negative about growing their own business and not worrying about who's going to take over, because after a while we all age. We all have to go sometime. We all. There's no exception.
Yeah. I ask all my clients that, like, what's the end run here? What's your strategy? What's your exit plan?
Right.
And way more than half are like, huh? What are you talking about?
What are you doing? Yeah.
Yeah, like I come to work every day. I love what I do. I'm making money, man. But yeah, and they start to think about it because they're like, yeah, well, I'm in my 70s now, and how long am I going to run this? And if because you've typically two options: leave it to the kids. But if you have no kids, sell it, or I guess three options: shut it down completely. But if you have a viable business, you may as well sell it. And also, you need to start preparing for that sale. You can't just like, okay, tomorrow I'm going to sell the business and bing, 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 it's done, gone.
Yeah.
Let me ask this one. I mean, and being only 30, what have you seen about through the pandemic here and the change in the movement to greater technology and that kind of thing?
It's all over the board. A lot of people are very, very open to Zoom and video conferencing. It's been really, really worked well for lots of companies. Other companies that are more that have a product that's more hands-on, where you have to more demo it, and even when you sell it and install it, it's more hands-on. It's a challenge, but I think we're going to see a real hybrid coming out of this. I think we're going to see a real hybrid of technology, of Zoom videos and things, along with traditional workplace.
How are you adjusting to it?
I love it. I'll tell you what, it's been a godsend. I would have been out of business without the
really
Zoom.
Wow.
Yeah, well, because all my workshops, basically, aside from some telephone coaching, I mean, 3/4 of my business was on site with clients, doing leadership development, management training, annual strategic plans, quarterly updates, assessments, and stuff. So, yeah, it would have been, and thank God they were all open to it and just moving, right along. Didn't miss a beat.
Oh, that's great to hear.
In other words, just let me make sure that I understand the situation that Zoom, all these digital kind of non-tactile coaching hasn't scared everybody away. No,
not at all.
I see.
Nope. I mean, I think it's going to definitely be a hybrid going in, because we still need in connection with people, right? So we can't do it all on video and stuff. But I do believe it's been a tremendous asset.
Okay, very good. I'm glad to know that at least that the society of CEOs and owners are more or less embracing non-tactile techniques.
Yes. Yeah. Yep.
Well, in any case, we have only 1 minute. So, John, would you like to ask the last question of Michael? 1 minute.
No.
Okay. All right. Then I have one for Michael, real quick.
Yes.
And then I have to announce our next guest. I think you agree. More than we can count, owners do not want to retire, and when they feel that they want to retire, they hire the next CEO, and then after they hire the CEO, half a year later, they don't want the young CEO. They want to go back because they can't get rid of their identity because they founded the business. What is your trick, so to speak? No negative connotation in persuading the senior founder, let go. How do you do it? Quick, because I don't have time.
Very quickly, drill down on their bucket list, their dream list. What do you want to accomplish before you exit this planet, right? And really start to get them to think about family, kids, grandkids, vacations, whatever it might be. So that helps. Now they have a personal future vision to go towards, aside from the business vision. That helps them.
Very good. Thank you so much. This is going to, I have to conclude this episode of Money Matters TV. It's been my pleasure to be your host. And I'd like you to know that our next guest is Ben Johnson, co-founder of Freya Systems. Thank you for watching Money Matters TV. Goodbye.